Welcome to another Sims 4 video. Today we are making over the sages in Glimmerbrook, which can I say, I just love how this reshade looks in Glimmerbrook. I mean, it's so bright and vibrant. So Werewolves just came out and I've been making over the Occult Sims just in excitement for it because I will not be able to get it for another few days. So I am filling that void with other occults. If you've seen my other makeovers and you've been enjoying this little mini series so far, please be sure to give it some love and give it a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more makeovers like this or any other Sims related content. I'm going to be doing this video in a slightly different format just because it's a little faster for me to get it out to all of you. So let me know if you like this new method, if you don't like it. As always, let me know in the comments. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. Our first sim is Morgyn Embers, who, personally, they're in my top 5 for the most attractive sims that EA has come out with. Morgyn is really unique. They're one of the only sims that has a customized gender. They have a masculine physical frame, a feminine clothing preference, they can neither get others nor become pregnant themselves, and they cannot use the toilet standing up. This has led a lot of people to believe that Morgyn is either non-binary, intersex, or trans, which I think is really cool, and I hope we continue to get more characters like this. But even with the pronouns update, EA has not given Morgyn any official pronouns, so I've decided to just go with they, them. I found the perfect hair for Morgyn almost immediately, but the eyebrows I kind of struggled with for a little bit. I couldn't really decide if I wanted to go more light and fluffy brows or if I wanted to go more sleek or angular brows, but ultimately I decided on the kind of thinner brows that more closely matched what they have as their default. Getting into the skin details is one of my favorite parts. I didn't want to change the look too much because, again, like I said, I think that Morgyn is one of the better EA creations. So really my goal was just to amplify and bring attention to the features that I think work really well for Morgyn's face. And that's kind of the vibe for the whole makeover. I didn't want to stray too far. I think that Morgyn, again, is one of the better put together Sims that EA has done. So it's kind of a bit like a refresh or like a revamp. So for those of you who haven't played Realm of Magic and maybe you're not into occults or maybe you're just new to the game, Morgyn is one of the 3 sages. And the sages are who you actually learn magic from. Now, Morgyn specifically, they specialize in untamed magic. So untamed magic are kind of the more chaotic of the 3 categories of spells. So it's things like, oh, I'm gonna set this thing on fire, or I'm gonna freeze this person into a block of ice, or I'm going to electrocute / clone / make a ghost once again alive and not in a zombie kind of way, luckily. And what's really interesting about Morgyn in that sense is they're one of the few Sims that just straight out of the gate, they have no skills. And by no skills, I literally mean it's like a blank slate if you play as them. That means no cooking skill, no fitness skill. They have no skills. It's like they were just born from the ether. Even the other sages have skills to start with, but not Morgyn. Morgyn got where they are just by pure chaos alone. And ain't that just the most relatable thing in the world? But it's kind of why as you can see, I'm kind of struggling with the outfit and what to give Morgyn. I go back and forth on a few things, and you'll notice a few different articles of clothing kind of making a comeback here and there. And ultimately, I make 2 different outfits because I really just couldn't decide in the end. I wanted to keep it feminine because that's their clothing preference. And so I think I found a good balance of that in the end and kind of keeping it similar to what their original game outfit was. But back to the chaos. Morgyn was the first sim that we see in the Realm of Magic trailer. So when we first see Morgyn, they are not a spellcaster, they're just a regular person. And then the Sage of Untamed Magic at the time kind of takes them under her wing And Morgyn very quickly masters the untamed magic, which is really cool, again, considering that they have no skills. I guess it's just no practical skills. But overall, Morgyn is just a chaotic mess, and we love them for it. So I really hope that you've enjoyed their makeover so far. Then we're going to get to Faba. And saying the name out loud just kind of makes me giggle a little bit. And if you're a musical theater nerd, you probably picked up on it right away. But she's actually named after Elphaba from the play/book Wicked, which is the prequel to the Wizard of Oz series, and Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West. And Elphaba, well, I'd say she fits the bill of unusually and exceedingly peculiar and altogether quite impossible to describe. Yeah, I was maybe a little bit obsessed with the soundtrack back in the day. But that's why I knew I needed to do right by Elphaba and give Elphaba here a makeover that Idina Menzel would be proud of. I'm actually really happy with the hair that I found because it feels like the perfect alpha equivalent to the Maxis hair. And you don't find that very often. And I wouldn't necessarily call it wicked, but Elphaba is the sage of the mischief magic, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. These are more of the skills that are a little more funny, a little more quirky, but it affects emotions a lot. So you can make other Sims really sad, or you can make them really angry, or you can essentially give them a love potion, or you can completely transfigure them into like a gnome or a couch or something. So, you know, no harm, no foul. With Elphaba, I really wanted to go like a pastel kind of cotton candy goth style. And I really wanted to give her like a facial piercing. But for whatever reason, I couldn't find any specific one that I really felt worked with the look that I was giving her. But I knew I needed to go big on the makeup. Because, I mean, comparing it to what she had before, anything I did wasn't going to be that atrocious. Like, I really feel they did her dirty with that makeup. So I just went bright and colorful, and I love the blush with the little heart shapes in them. But what that did mean is I had to go into the tattoo section in order to put like the eye reflections in. Honestly, I just wish we had more slots on like makeup and stuff and skin details so that we can better layer them on top of each other. But in the end, I actually really like how she looks. I cycle through a few different articles of clothing, but I had the idea of like the classic female magician in mind. But again, kind of keeping it a little bit more like pastel / punk / goth, just a little bit more alternative. Because we don't know a whole lot about Elphaba, but the things we do know are that she has 4 skills. She has comedy level 3, cooking level 5, gourmet cooking level 3, and she has mischief level 9, which I mean is fitting considering she is the sage of mischief magic. But I like the fact that she's a bit of a foodie too. But she's also friends with Morgyn Ember, which you would think is to be expected, but you never know with mischief magic. But Elphaba is one of the newer sages because she's not a sage at the time that Morgyn becomes one. It's still her predecessor, who is the one that we actually see in the trailer. She has a very similar kind of makeup style, but a pure white aesthetic. And what's really interesting about that predecessor is she's apparently not even a spellcaster when you download her from the gallery. It could be a continuity error, Or it could mean that something happened and maybe her magic was taken from her. Hopefully not at the hands of Faba here. Though it does seem kinda like her style, not gonna lie. Because one of her traits is that she's mean, she's a genius, and she is dastardly because she wants to be a chief of mischief, which isn't even a spellcaster aspiration. So I don't know, I would keep an eye on her. But that is Miss Faba. So now we get to move on to our last sage, and this is the Sage of Practical Magic, Sir Simeon Silversweater. And I just had to double check that because I felt like I said the name wrong, but nope, that is his name. That is his given last name. Now Simeon, he's a practical guy. He's just a normal dude. And it's really just to the point that I had no idea this guy was a spellcaster, let alone a sage, until I looked it up, because not to rag on him too much, but he's a little plain. It's funny though, because I really thought I was going to struggle a lot more with him, but pretty quickly I kind of figured out I wanted to go more of like, kind of a little bit more of like a rugged type look, and honestly, a little bit more like a werewolf style, which now, you know, no spoilers, but as we're learning more about the spellcasters in the Werewolves pack, I don't know, I'm just really happy with the direction I chose to go with Simeon. Overall, I would say Simeon has like the Hufflepuff vibes, not to bring up Harry Potter, but he's more of the practical one. He's like the other group of magic that also exists, but honestly is very practical, as the name implies. These are the spells that are like, I am going to create food out of thin air, or I'm gonna magically clean everything in the house and hopefully not cause a Fantasia disaster. Or I'm going to duplicate the heck out of this money tree and just create infinite money. So by that I mean it's the magic category that I think most of us would choose if we could only choose one. 'Cause it's practical, it just makes sense. And I think just as I was getting to know Simeon a little bit better, he really is a sim of the people. You know? I'd say he's probably the most relatable, but just like Faba and Morgyn, he's a relatively newer sage. He's not around in the early trailers either, when Morgyn is first coming about. And he's also a full adult. I think Morgyn is the youngest of the three of them. But Simeon, he is a Renaissance sim, he's a geek, he's a snob, and he's gloomy. So I think that he maybe found spellcasting and magic maybe a little bit later in life, and he just wanted to make it his thing at that point. But he has some pretty high skills in logic, programming, and video gaming. He's all 8s. So he really is just like a regular dude who's probably just playing video games and is like, I can do that. And then he did, and that's why he's great, and we should all aspire to be Simeon. I feel like overall his outfit and all the stylings and everything kind of came together pretty easily. I finally was able to give one of them a facial piercing and have it work out with everything else that I put on them, so I'm really happy I was able to squeeze that in there. And then I had to put a little sneaky tattoo under there. You kind of see it poking out from like the neck of his jacket a little bit. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know which makeover was your favorite down in the comments. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you want to see more makeovers like this, please subscribe to my channel. And you can also let me know what specific Sims you'd like to see made over. Because I think my next one I'm going to do will be the mermaids. And then at that point, I'm kind of pretty much caught up with all of the occults except for werewolves, so that'll be my next pack that I have to get, and I'm really looking forward to meeting those Sims here soon. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!